everyone. Welcome back to my podcast titled Healing Me. It's been quite a long time. I've been quite busy with a lot of different things, and I kind of turned a blind eye to my podcast. But even though I haven't been fully working on it or recording, I've actually definitely been thinking about it a lot. I have a lot of ideas for it, and so I'm just happy to have this chance again to kind of reconvene and kind of do this podcast one more time. So if you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Kayla. You can call me Suzu as well. I go by a lot of different things, but or my gamer tag, obviously, Suzu. But obviously, my name is Kayla, like I said, and this podcast is just generally me sharing things that I've learned along, I guess you can say, my experiences and catching up to my age. I guess you can say that I've learned a lot with my experiences from working with people, being with people, as in like friendships and romantic relationships. And here in this kind of podcast, I'm just sharing what I have learned and what things I have done to help heal myself in the process. And so the reason why it's pretty much labeled as healing me is just me sharing what I know about my experience, what that does for it, me kind of having the conversation and reflecting, what does that entail and what can I do with that? And so, again, if you've been here, you know that I have episode 0 and episode 1. So episode 0 is kind of give or take kind of sample, I guess you can say, and episode 1 was kind of me kind of speaking to everyone in a broken state. So at that point in time, I was still going through a lot of different things, romantic breakup to friendship breakups to a lot of different things happening in my family. On top of that, I was graduating from school, so there's a lot of stressors and things that kind of just made it harder for me to kind of be in tune with my own emotions or even myself. And so I definitely want to revamp a little bit, but I'm going to keep that there because that just shows how, I guess you can say, it's me being, I guess you can say, alternatively who I was at the moment. I can't. I'm thinking of the word, but I think you might know what I mean. But just me in that moment, just kind of raw feelings. And so now that it's been pretty a long time, I think it might be almost a year. I don't even know for sure anymore. Now I'm fully, edging into my adulthood life and then working into my gap year, obviously, and moving far along. But at least for today's podcast or episode, it's about kind of picking up after what we talked about last time a little bit and kind of me kind of switching what I did then. So when I was working on this podcast episode before that, I kind of went along with the next part from episode 1, since this is episode 2 after all. Just kind of talking about the apologies you wanted to always hear to what you wanted to might have said. That's kind of the same thing as episode 1, or just wishing to hear. But I think the best thing I could pull from that is kind of just labeling this episode as moving forward. Moving forward from, the things you wish you wanted to hear to things you said to, reconvening all the feelings you have within yourself and what you can do most of all after that. And so I think the biggest thing for me, at least sharing my experience and what I've gone through, is that with going into, a bigger part of my journey in life and moving past what it was in my, I guess you can say my college era to my adulthood, that, a lot of people, you thought you would have in your life for a long time or stick around, they just kind of, you drift apart, and that's normal and completely okay, and I thought the biggest part of it too was that I was losing things and I was gaining things at once as well. I lost things that I thought would stay with me forever, and I was gaining more knowledge, and the other half of me that has always wanted to move into medicine, And so when I sat with myself a lot more in the situation back then, and like I said, a big part of the reason why I created this podcast was because of what happened, my friendship breakups and my romantic breakup, to things changing and the friends I did have kind of drifting apart, and felt like I wasn't being seen by those individuals anymore. moving on to newer friendships, but it was hard for me to make friends. So, like I said, there's a lot going to be tuned in this podcast and talking about moving into adulthood, what's going to happen after that, even how hard it is to make friends and stuff. But the biggest part of this episode, again, is to talk about moving forward from kind of sitting there and not sitting in self-denial about the fact that I was going through that kind of stuff. So, and in all honesty, back then I was really in big, I guess you can say, I know I'm stuttering on my words, but a big part of it was that I was in self-denial that I need help to moving forward. I didn't want to, accept the fact that that was happening. I didn't want to accept the fact that people didn't actually like me. And I thought that I was the better version of who I could be, and I wasn't. So, when those things were all falling apart and I was gaining, the next step was graduating, but losing those things, I cried a lot. I spent a lot of, nights having a hard time falling asleep, crying a lot, and, not understanding that I wasn't the problem. Sometimes, even though when you sit there and you think that things are going great and things kind of drift apart and you blame yourself, I did that a lot. I was in denial that I didn't accept the fact that those things were happening. And because I was sitting there like that, I kept blaming myself. I kept questioning myself. I didn't really love who I was because I kept giving myself to other people. And through all that, I think the biggest, hardest thing, I think, too, was that it's gonna make me tear up because I never really talked about it in a long time. But I know this is gonna be raw too as well. But I'm kind of losing my train of thought a little bit too. But sitting in that place, lost, and not being able to dig yourself out was the hardest too, I think. Because, like I said, being in that self-denial state, not accepting it, feeling hurt from other people, and them leaving you and lying about you was really hard. And so, of course, I know I'm crying a little bit from it. That's okay. I don't think I fully healed from it either, but I kind of lost you. What was I saying? Let's see. So, yeah. So sitting there, having those kind of endless nights and hardships, and then seeking, I really sought a lot of comfort from other people, but I didn't. I felt like I really had to move on and do my own stuff at the moment to move forward with it. So when I couldn't accept the fact that I was not the problem and I thought it was always all on me and that I did something wrong, and I kept thinking about all these scenarios of what I could have done, what I could have made into like building better friendships and giving a lot of care, was that I will never be good enough for people. And a lot of times you'll hear that, even it could be in the state of your family too. You'll never be good enough for your parents. You'll never be good enough for your friends, your significant other. And the thing is that I had to learn that in that situation, they didn't really love me for who I was. They didn't care about me. They didn't even really like me. Nor did I ever realize that I didn't love myself enough. And so, because I kept pushing that away, that I wasn't of value to other people and friendships and even romantic relationships, I kind of didn't take care of myself too. Alongside being in self-denial, not accepting things, not loving myself, I didn't take care of myself. I kept pushing myself above and beyond for other people, and it took a big horse on my mental health at the time too. And so that's why it was really hard for me in a rough patch to kind of move forward from it. And so when like I said, when all of this happened, I know I'm repeating myself a lot, but that's the best way to kind of just talk about all this stuff, right? Understanding that, and then kind of seeking help and going to therapy, that I realized a lot of things that were red flags that I kind of wanted to push away were present. And even though my family and good friends that I had that I pushed away that told me those things are not right. And I'm not going to go into detail what they are just yet, unless we presumably go into it. But maybe there'll be an episode on red flags and recognizing them. But then again, some people can let it go and some can't. I, at the moment in time, let things go because I thought that that was what I needed to do to care about other people, and that I didn't deserve to have my feelings kind of validated by those people. And so, because I didn't take care of myself and because I lacked that self-care and love to be who I was and just kind of shove it away and just allow people to step all over me, that it made it more hurtful and hard for me to move forward. And so even though maybe now I'm more strong in my emotions and I can be, pretty good with explaining my emotions and being in tune to it, back then it wasn't like that. And it took a really big part of me, and it took a big part of me to work with my therapist and the people that I have now to be able to explain all the things I felt then. And so I won't lie, those things still hurt and it will never go away because those are people I truly cared about. And that's okay. Do I have a certain amount of, certain feelings towards them? I still do. As in not hateful, but kind of like a growing pain in my butt where I don't ever want to think about them because I don't think these individuals deserve that kind of space in my head for them. Nor it's okay. I'm not gonna wish evil or anything. To each your own, and that they should be able to do what they want, but I don't want them in my life ever again. And so for me to kind of push that thought forward, I had to do what I had to. I would definitely say I didn't make the best decisions at the moment, reaching back out to people that didn't care about me, changing myself, make kind of, like I said, I'd reach out to some people, but I didn't, and I kind of just put myself in my own shell. So in all honesty, what I felt and what I did then, I felt like I needed to do, and that was okay. And that was holding myself away, kind of taking each day step by step. And a lot of people that were there for me, I'm so grateful for, because I know that those are people I can rely on in the future, and people I want to still be in my life versus others that I don't want anymore. And so, I feel like I had to give myself my own answers to move forward. So, like I said, even though a lot of things happened at the moment and I felt like I was lost, I couldn't find myself because of all these different things, that at the end of the day too, I had to stop giving excuses to other people to move forward too. So on top of, not having self-care, putting myself down a big hole instead of, kind of trying to get my way out by filling my own cup, that I kept pouring it out and just putting it in other places that I shouldn't have. And even when I really wanted answers and I tried to seek them in different ways, I had to tell myself that I had to stop doing that because I would never get that answer. Like I said, they didn't like me. They did not care about me. And there were so many red flags up until then. And even now, as I'm older and I look back at my childhood and stuff, a lot of things were not supposed to be what they were. I was so oblivious and naive to certain things that I always wanted to wish the good in people. And now I'm at the certain point in my life where I feel like I can still be who I want to be and be continuously nice to people and very kind. But some people will not get that from me anymore because I just don't feel like I deserve that. And the one thing too is that with moving forward and accepting what has happened, I had to tell myself that I deserve better. And I really thought for a long time I didn't, because I felt like I was the one hurting somebody. I was the problem. And just from knowing that and talking with a lot of different people, even my family at the time, that um, it all came down to one thing for sure, is that I had to give myself the answers. I had to be the person to take care of myself. I had to be the bearer of my own knowledge, and that if people didn't want to be in that space, they don't deserve it. And I need to love myself. I need to tell myself that I'm a great person. I am beautiful. It's hard for me to do that. Giving yourself positive affirmations each day is the hardest thing to do. But I had to tell myself that. I had to tell myself that even if I don't feel beautiful today and I don't feel like I want to be nice to myself, I deserve it. And that I had to tell myself that I'm sorry for hurting you. I'm sorry for misjudging you, you know? And the only way you can reach within your own soul to think that is to kind of, reflect. And every time I wanted to give my piece to somebody else, I told myself no, I couldn't, because I told myself too that even if I want to be kind to other people, I don't need to like these people anymore. And that when someone tells me or does something that doesn't kind of align with my own ideologies or my morals and the way I think, I needed to stop doing that. I'm the type of person to be a bandwagoner too. I'm the type of person to fall and be, persuaded very easily, because that's how much I trust people. And I realized I need to stop doing that. I had to learn how to pick and choose the way my thoughts worked with people. And then that people should not be allowed to be in the same space as me just to be able to move forward, because I kept giving and giving. I kept losing everything part of myself. And in my senior year, all of that kind of took place, And so when I had to reconvene and all these things I said to myself that I apologized to myself for, and, in even thinking about what I was offered to other people that I actually truly cared about and pushed away, you know, um, in the moment at the time too in my senior year, and this was in college, by the way, that I always really wanted to go back and rekindle things and make up things and make up excuses. That's the biggest thing. Like, I was making excuses for things that didn't make fucking sense. Sorry, language. But then again, I do want to let everyone know that this is an 18 plus podcast too, by the way. But that there's no excuse. You should never make an excuse for people. You should stop making excuses. Yeah, you can think and be nice about other people. You should obviously, give them the benefit of the doubt, but not everyone deserves it. If you want to still be nasty and gross, you can go be on your way. Nobody deserves that. The only thing you can really do is what you have your purpose for yourself. And ultimately, regardless of everything, I think that for me, I had to take into regard my really big emotions, And if you're in the same path as me, I hope you understand the same thing as that. It takes day by day. And the only reason why I'm able to say that is because a lot of individuals in my life, they told me the same thing. It takes day by day to move on. It might even take years to kind of accept things and to be able to talk about it and not feel hurt or cry. And the thing is, you don't always have to. You can cry. You're allowed to just move forward. And it doesn't matter what other people go through. It doesn't matter if one person had to go through the same thing as you and then the next day they bounce back. You're not the same person as them. And I wasn't either. I had to stop really comparing myself to my peers too. And aside from my career goals and my friends and stuff and how I felt left behind, but in the same moment being in this kind of relationship with friends and romantic relationships, even my family relationships, that I had to let go, because I had to stop. It was just not worth my time to keep wanting to cater to everybody else. And then when you're in that process, or when you're going through the same thing and wanting to move forward, the only thing you can really do is to give yourself your own answers and to take it day by day. Smile, give yourself positive affirmations, take care of yourself, and treat yourself. Sometimes you might not be in the state to do that. Maybe, for example, financial reasons. That's okay too. You don't have to go out and spend money, but take a relaxing day. Go watch your favorite show. Eat your ice cream, your favorite ice cream, once in a while, right? And so I think to wrap up this episode, obviously, I know I kind of ranted for a really long time. Overall, to move forward is to really sit down, reflect on what you really want to do, what's been happening, how do you feel about it, where do you want to see yourself, and the biggest thing is that you can be the only person that gives yourself that answer. And learning to accept things for what you see them as face value. Don't read in between the lines. You can, but I think the biggest thing is that if you're in the process of obviously always overthinking, you have to let things go. But let things go in the standard for you, not for anybody else. So yeah, in this kind of episode too, you have to be selfish. You have to be selfish with your time. You have to be selfish with the way you want to deal with people, and that's okay. It took me a really long time because I kept catering to other people and I kept digging that, or like digging my own hole, or pouring myself into somebody else's cup that they kept drinking and spitting out. It wasn't worth it. So overall, hopefully, me kind of ranting and reflecting a little bit helped you in your own healing process. It's definitely helped me and realizing a lot of different things. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I really hope to do a lot more. I have a lot of thoughts in mind and reconstructing this podcast itself, and even alongside decorating things and promoting a lot of different things as well. So again, I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope to see you guys next time. I really hope you enjoyed this episode of Healing Me. And again, this episode was dedicated to moving forward, okay? I hope you guys take care out there, and I'll see you guys next time. All right. Bye.